Hi, I am Kimmy with On William Street, and we are here to help you become a more confident quilter, from the piecing to the quilting and everything in between. So this week, we are going to make a fun and easy layer cake quilt. Don't forget, everything that we're going to talk about today you can find in our blog post, so you'll want to check out the link below the video, and it's going to give you all the fabric requirements and details and all of that. So don't forget to check that out. And while you're there, you can check out our shop to find your next modern quilting project. So today's project is a layer cake quilt. And so a layer cake is going to be 10-inch squares. It might not always be called a layer cake depending on the manufacturer of the fabric, but what you're looking for are 10-inch squares. And you can usually get them in a pack of about 40, depending on who you're getting them from. That's going to be a full collection. It's a great way, if you love a collection, you fall in love with one, to get all of the prints and do something really fun with them. So that's what we're going to be using. Because they come pre-cut as 10-inch squares, it's also a great time saver. So these pre-cut quilts can really go together very, very quickly. You're also going to need a background or an accent color. We're just going to use white for ours. You can use any, I definitely kind of recommend a solid. They're going to be a skinnier piece of fabric. So grab a solid to match, and you're going to need 3/4 of a yard of that solid. So one layer cake with at least 36 blocks and 3/4 yard of a solid. If you have a layer cake that has 42 blocks, you can definitely use those extra blocks, and you'll need a little bit more solid fabric. So check the blog post. I'm going to have all the notes there, depending on whether you're going to do the 36 blocks that we're doing today, or whether your layer cake does have a full 42 and you're going to do a full 42 block quilt. So first thing we're going to do is gather your layer cake and your solid, and we're going to cut a bunch of strips out of the solid. And these are 1.5-inch strips. Cut them width of fabric, so just go selvage to selvage, cut 1.5 inches, and then trim them down into 10-inch strips. So you should be able to get 4 from each of those width of fabrics. And you're going to cut those up so that you're going to have 2 per each layer cake piece of fabric that you have. So we're going to end up with 18 strips cut down into those 10-inch. So cut your 18 1.5-inch strips, cut all of them down into your 10-inch strips from that. So you should end up with 72 when you're all done. I have today that I'm working with this really fun, and this isn't a pre-made layer. This is one that we kind of put together with all of these fun Christmas fabrics. You don't have to use Christmas fabrics. This will obviously work with any fabric. These are a bunch of really fun Christmas prints, Christmas collection put together from Michael Miller Basics. So it's a really great little pile of fabrics. You can pull from your scraps and do this as a scrappy quilt if you have a lot of scraps, or like I said, if you found a collection that you love and you have to make a quilt with every print in that collection, this is a great way to do that. So grab that layer cake. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take those 36. So we need to pick out 36. If you have more than that in your layer cake, you're only going to need 36. Or if you're going to do the 42 one that we're going to have instructions for in the blog post as well, you can do 42. And you're going to take them and you're going to make pairs of 2. Doesn't really matter how this goes. I would probably mix in, do some lights and darks, some, if they have different colors, but just do a nice combination and match up each of those layer cakes so that you have them in sets of 2. Before we do any sewing, we're going to go ahead and grab our sets of 2, and we're going to just fold them in half on the diagonal, and we're going to give them a nice press. What this is going to do is it's going to give us the line that we need to line our blocks up as we go along. If you want to, you can press all of your strips as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and finger press those as we sew. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to trim these up. We're going to be trimming across this line. So this line is going to end up being a spot for us to line the block up when we sew it back together. So there's 2 ways you can do this. If you have a 45-degree line on your ruler, it's going to be really quick and easy, no marking necessary. You're going to line it up so that the 45-degree line is along the edge of the fabric, and it's going to hit the corner right on that 4.25 inch line. Then just cut both of them together right across. If you don't have that 45-degree line, we're going to come in here with a pencil, and we're going to mark over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're going to put a mark here And you're going to come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches here. Put a mark here. Then just put your ruler up edge to edge and trim that off. Either one is going to give you the same size squares coming off, so it's just whatever's easier. If you don't want to have to mark each one and you have the 45-degree line, that's going to be a little bit quicker. But if you don't, like I said, grab a little bit of a pencil and mark the 6 inches in. So cut both of those corners off. We're not cutting these ones, just these two on the side that we ironed. Now we're ready to sew our blocks together. So we're going to start and grab one of our 10-inch by 1.5 inch strips of our accent fabric. And the same thing, we're just going to fold it in half. And I'm just going to give it a nice finger press right on that seam. Now we're going to come in here and line those up. So this seam needs to sit right inside the seam on our main piece. And I'm just going to stick a pin right on that seam and then sew your 1/4 inch. Now we're going to grab our second white strip, finger press, and sew it on the opposite side. Now we're going to grab the side squares of the matching where we made the 2 sets. Grab the side squares and we're going to add that same thing. Line up those 2 center lines that we marked. Stick a pin and sew a 1/4 inch. Be careful as you're doing this not to stretch this seam. This is going to be bias edges. So as you're doing it, don't pull and stretch them. Just let them kind of move and keep them flat. And then grab the other square of the contrasting fabric and we're going to sew it on here. Now grab the second triangle from your other fabric in the set, line those up, and again, just sew your 1/4 inch seam. Now we're going to repeat that same process using the other part of what we cut. So we're going to use the polka dots is going to be the center section with the 2 greens. Now we're going to take our 2 squares. You can see they've just got alternating fabrics on the corners. And we're going to go over and we're going to iron them. When I iron them, I'm going to go ahead and just iron both of these out from this little skinny piece. So you can see we've got them ironed, so they're laying nice and flat, and we're ready to trim these up. And we're going to just trim them back up into 10-inch squares. And how we're going to do that is I'm just going to line this up on the corner. So you can see it doesn't really matter which mark. Just line it up so that it's lined on that corner and on that edge. And then we're just going to trim off the extra. Flip it. Again, line it up along that corner. Trim off the extra. So if you didn't get those perfectly centered, as long as those outside triangles are close, it's okay, because we're going to make them nice and square here in this step. So that one's done. Grab your second one, trim it up. And then grab your next set and repeat until you have all of your blocks made. Now that all of our blocks are sewn, we're ready to lay it out. And because this is more of a scrappy layout, you're gonna wanna kind of, mix them up, play with them, make sure you've got a nice distribution of your colors and your dark. So after you get it laid out, you can move things around how you want. So how we're gonna be laying these blocks out, we're going to just alternate it. So this one's gonna go this direction. Then our next one will go the opposite direction so that our white stripes match up. And then again, alternate. And you'll just go all the way down. So then when you start the second row, we're going to start it going the opposite direction of that one. And you see we're kind of making these X's that are all going to join together in the 4 different rows. So for the 36 block quilt, you're going to have 6 by 6, and it's going to be a nice square sized throw. If you do have a full 42, if your layer cake has 42 blocks that you use, then you're going to make it a 6 by 7. So then after you have it all laid out, you decided how you want those blocks to go, we're just going to sew it together in rows. So just start and sew the top row together, and then the next one on down, and then of course you're going to come back and sew all those rows together. And our quilt top is all done, and you have this really fun, easy layer cake quilt. Goes together in just a matter of a couple of days. So you need a fun, fast, easy project. This is definitely one for you. So you can see it looks great in our Christmas colors, getting ready for the holiday, but it would look great in any layer cake that you find. Just find a nice, fun, solid accent to match and you're ready to go. So if you need any of the directions, fabric requirements, all of that, head to the blog post. They're gonna all be written out, so they're gonna be nice and easy to find and see. Also, while you're there, don't forget to check out our shop. So you can check out all of our fun modern quilting patterns and projects that we have available there. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll see you next time.